Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is 7 awesome things about Sagittarius. And I'd like to think that I'm somewhat of an expert on Sagittarius since that is my sun sign. But I want you to be aware that it doesn't have to be just the sun in Sagittarius. Some of these qualities will manifest in different ways if your moon is in Sagittarius, your rising sign, and so on and so forth. So just keep that in mind. And the other thing to note is that these are what we would call positive aspects. I have also done a version already for all of the zodiac signs of the shadow aspects, and you can look on my channel for that series. So number 1 is funny, entertaining, in terms of the positive qualities of Sagittarius. And just on my end of things, I was always the class clown in elementary school. I was always trying to make other people laugh and say something clever. And I did make people laugh, and I'm still trying to make people laugh. I think that the impulse of for Sagittarians to do this sort of thing comes from that desire to entertain. And of course, there are plenty of Sagittarian sun sign entertainers in show business. And so it just comes naturally on that level. But also, I think there is something about the philosophical nature of Sagittarius that we understand that life is too important to take seriously. That's a quote from Oscar Wilde, who actually was a Libra person. But that is so true, is that life is important, but so is having levity in life. And you think about people who go through life and they're so serious. And a lot of times this is kind of connected to being an adult. And being an adult means that you have to act really grown up. And being grown up means that you're very serious and you never smile, you never laugh. And of course, we know that that's not true, and that we all have the inner child that sometimes gets covered up. But that sense of spontaneity, that sense of playfulness, that a lot of people lose because they think they have to. They think that otherwise they'll be seen as immature, as a fool. Sagittarius doesn't care. They embrace that. And part of that is just seeing the absurdity of life, which exists, big time. Number 2, honesty. Sagittarians tend to be honest, and they say Sagittarians make terrible liars, that even if they tried to lie, people would see right through it. I don't know about that, but I just think that most Sagittarians operate from a position that honesty is the best policy. And for many Sagittarians, this may be in connection to spiritual beliefs, since Sagittarius rules the 9th house in astrology, that is the God house. And so any kind of organized religion or other religious beliefs fall into this category. And obviously, a universal principle is honesty in every religion that I can think of. And so when a Sagittarius person tells you something, chances are it's going to be how they really see it. And that expression, the unvarnished truth, can apply to Sagittarians because they can be so honest that they are blunt. Aries is another sign that is infamous for this. And they even say that Sagittarians tend to put their foot in their mouth because of this tendency to just say what they feel, almost like a child blurts out truths that are, not very diplomatic sometimes. So this is something that can, it's like a double-edged sword where you get the truth, but you can also get a little bit of, when they say the truth hurts, sometimes the truth hurts when you feel that sense of not having any kind of veneer, where it's just kind of that unvarnished truth. But Sagittarius means well, and that's the important thing. Number 3, wisdom, sage. You hear the word Sagittarius and you think of sage. Now again, because Sagittarius rules the 9th house, it is going to be connected with wisdom and just being a teacher in general, but specifically a spiritual teacher. However, there's also the fact that if we compare Sagittarius to Pisces, Pisces is also associated with that kind of wisdom. But I would say, like with Pisces, it's a school of hard knocks, where they have been through so much that they garner that wisdom, and they have natural psychic ability that comes from their intuitive nature in general, being water sign, ruled by Neptune and what Neptune represents. With Sagittarius, the sage-like qualities are connected to being a prophet, or is that the appropriate word that I'm looking for? Yeah, somebody who, if you've heard the word seer, it's connected to a psychic, the word psychic, but it's actually seeing, seer is somebody who is seeing. And they are looking at the bigger picture. They're looking far in advance. They're not just bogged down with the mundane aspects of life. And so no matter what kind of Sagittarius person you get, or if you are listening as a Sagittarian, no matter what kind of Sagittarian you are, and by the way, there can be Sagittarians that are more of the animal, because Sagittarius is half horse and half man, and that animal part can indicate the wild nature, the untamed nature, and some Sagittarians resemble more of the animal than the man. But in either case, there's always going to be that thoughtful and sage-like quality present in the Sagittarius. It may not be in as pronounced a degree as another Sagittarian, but it will be there. And this also applies to people who are studious, because you can get with the man part of the symbol of Sagittarius, you can get that person who is very, very much a bookworm, who is very thoughtful. And, Sagittarians tend to be intellectuals. So they have that part of them that is very much connected to the mind and the pleasures therein. But then there is this part of them that is like very physical, and part of that animalistic side that is much more freedom loving, to the point of even being a bit wild. And we think of in the tarot, the Knight of Wands is connected to Sagittarius, and there's a chaotic element of the Knight of Wands. But this is the sage part is going to be present in all Sagittarians, no matter what they are overall. They still may have that component of wisdom that they share with others, and just naturally philosophical. Number 4, flexible. And because Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign, there's always those leadership abilities present within Sagittarians, being a fire sign. But because Sag is a mutable sign, even if Sagittarius is a boss, they will tend to take advice from their employees. My partner is also a Sagittarius. And I always joke with him because he would have workers who were telling him what to do. And he has Mars in Pisces, though, too, so that might be the culprit. But there's not that sense of ego that's like, I'm in charge. And yet Sagittarians may kind of wander into a position of authority simply because they have a lot of creative ideas that they're willing to act upon. But I think in most cases, unless the Sagittarian has a lot of Capricorn in them, they will not tend to just want to be a supervisor or something like that. They tend to not want to give orders, but they are capable of taking orders if they feel that they are being treated fairly and with respect. But this also extends to personal relationships. That ability to kind of really cooperate with your partner, that's so important. And I think about the other two fire signs. Leo is a fixed sign, and Leo may be quite inflexible when it comes to thinking the way that their partner thinks, or at least putting themselves in the shoes of the other partner, of their partner, as well as doing what their partner wants them to do. They tend to be very set in their ways. And Aries, I mean, forget about it. Aries is a cardinal sign, so they tend to deal with other people from the position of, hey, I'm the head honcho here. And so that does not lend itself to really negotiating with your partner too much. Number 5, independent. And I had mentioned this with Aries as well. And some people might say, well, what's so great about somebody who's independent? Sometimes it can veer into self-centeredness. I will admit that, because when somebody is that guided by their own desires and willing to follow through on them, they may not be taking somebody else into account. So it can work both ways, but the nice thing about an independent person is that if they're in the workplace, you don't have to hold their hand. They're able to do things on their own. But also in a personal relationship, they're going to give you a long leash, and they expect it as well. But this can lead to a couple who they have their own interests, or even if they have similar interests, they're still perfectly comfortable about pursuing them independently. They don't have to do everything as a couple. And I think that that is ultimately very healthy, because there can be a lot of codependency in committed partnerships. And while doing things as a couple is wonderful, taken to the extreme, it can lead to a situation where one person may want to just have a night out with friends and not involve their spouse, and the other person is all hurt about it. And we all need time away from even the people that we love the most. So, because it gives us different perspective, it's just a way, they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. If you're always there, how can I miss you? So, overall, I think independence is a wonderful trait. And by the way, too, if you have a Sagittarian child, you will notice that they're not probably going to bug you for attention as much as maybe your Cancer child or your Pisces child, where they can play independently. They're innately curious about things, and they don't really need you to kind of guide their play. They're capable of doing, playing by themselves. Number 6, positive, and I think I touched upon that earlier in a way. But yeah, I mean, that ability to see the glass half full on a consistent basis. And this kind of thing is inspirational. other people find Sagittarians not only fun to be around, but also that they inspire them, that they get them to think that they can go for it, that they can achieve their dreams, make their dreams come true. Even if they feel that the deck is stacked against them, or that they are too old, or they're too unqualified, whatever the case may be. And the last thing is expansiveness. Sagittarians tend to see the bigger picture. So they usually are not very petty people. They don't fixate on little details of another person's, maybe their failings, their flaws, and kind of building upon that last point of positivity. This really can influence other people for the better, because when a person has an expansive personality, they really send the message that there's so much that we can do, that we've only touched a small percentage of our true capabilities in life. And whereas other people, they're very aware of limitations. And so Sagittarians make the perfect life coaches for this reason. And it extends into other areas, not having prejudices. But at the same time, I would add that there is a sense of honesty that's associated with that. So you can see the unity in all beings and still see the work that needs to be done, and not be like a Pollyanna, and still be expansive. And it's like sometimes we get stuck because we're looking at the same four walls, and we think that this is how our life is, and that's how it's always going to be. And I have mentioned this before, but I have this, I don't know what you would call it. It's a pen and ink drawing, I think, but it's on sturdy paper. I guess I'm supposed to frame it. And it's got like a bird in a cage, and then another bird is like shooting off into the sky. And it says, never ever believe that where you are right now is the only reality. Or something to that effect. I'm looking at it, but it's too far away from me to repeat it verbatim. But the point is that a lot of times we play small, or we simply do not feel that we can accomplish certain things because we're looking at this moment in time. And we don't realize that this is actually the past. What we're experiencing right now is the past. It's the sum of all our actions that we took that led to this moment. So whatever it is that a person is trying to accomplish, it's what you do right now that will create your future. And therefore, what you see in front of you is not necessarily going to be true for you in the future, if you determine that it be so. Okay, well, I guess that's a good time to close, since I lapsed into my Sagittarian traits. I hope that you enjoyed this, and if you like this kind of a reading, please check out my website. The link is below. Okay, take care. Bye.